The new reality: why marriage isn't what it used to be. Marriage used to be a cornerstone of society, a rite of passage for men, a clear social contract. You provided, protected, and in return you got loyalty, respect, and a lifelong partner. But today, that contract is gone. The roles are blurred, and the incentives that made marriage a no-brainer for men have faded. Now, marriage feels less like a foundation and more like a risk. Guys see friends lose homes, savings, and even access to their kids after divorce. The potential downsides are huge, and the benefits seem less certain. Men aren't against love or commitment. They're wary of the legal and financial risks marriage now carries. This isn't about blaming anyone or longing for the past. It's about recognizing that the institution has changed. Men are hesitating not out of immaturity, but because marriage feels unfamiliar and risky. They want a partnership built on mutual respect and clear expectations, not an outdated model that seems stacked against them. The conversation has to start with acknowledging that the game has changed. Men are just trying to figure out how to play it without losing everything. Section 2. From obligation to option. The cultural downgrade of marriage. For centuries, marriage was almost mandatory for men to be seen as adults. It was the default life path: school, job, marriage, kids. Deviating from it was a big deal. Fast forward to today, marriage is now a personal choice, not a social necessity. A man can have a career, relationships, and even kids without ever marrying, and society barely notices. The stigma is gone, and that freedom changes everything. Now, marriage has to prove its worth on its own merits. Men analyze it like any other big decision. What are the real benefits versus the risks? Providing for a family or having a lifelong partner? You can do both without a marriage license. The cultural downgrade means marriage is just one option among many. For many men, the risks are concrete and the benefits feel abstract. When something becomes optional, you have to ask, why choose it? The old answers don't hold up, and marriage is now competing with other ways of living. For a lot of guys, opting out seems like the most logical move. Section 3. The gavel's shadow. Legal fears that keep men on the sidelines. The legal system is the #1 reason men hesitate to marry. Divorce horror stories are everywhere. Guys losing homes, savings, and access to their kids. No-fault divorce means one person can end it for any reason, and the financial fallout can be devastating. Men feel the system is stacked against them, with alimony and custody often favoring the other side. It feels like a contract where all the risk is on you, and the other person can walk away with the rewards. Until the family court system feels fair and balanced, this fear will keep men on the sidelines. Marriage looks less like a safe harbor and more like a legal minefield. Section 4. The financial gauntlet. Why men see marriage as a high-stakes gamble. The pressure to be the provider hasn't disappeared, even with dual incomes. Men are expected to support a partner and kids, while the cost of living and weddings keeps rising. Dropping tens of thousands on a wedding feels insane when you're trying to save for a house. If one partner steps back from work to raise kids, the financial burden falls on the man. If he loses his job, the stakes are even higher. Add the risk of losing half in a divorce, and marriage looks like a terrible financial bet. Men aren't unwilling to share. They're unwilling to take on a one-sided risk. The potential losses seem to outweigh the gains. Many are choosing a simpler, less risky path. It's not all about money and law. Many men feel emotionally unsupported in modern relationships. Society encourages women to seek support, but men are still expected to be the strong, silent type. Their emotional needs often get sidelined, leading to loneliness, even in marriage. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, and men fear losing respect if they stumble. They want a teammate, not a spectator. Without genuine reciprocal support, men hesitate to commit. They'd rather be alone than feel like an emotional support animal with no support in return. The idea of a successful relationship is changing. Marriage is no longer the only legitimate outcome for a serious romance. Men are realizing they can have deep, committed partnerships without legal ties. These relationships offer love and support without the legal and financial risks. Commitment is reaffirmed daily, not enforced by a court. Both partners keep their autonomy and assets. If things end, it's a breakup, not a lawsuit. Men aren't rejecting love. They're rejecting a model that no longer serves them. You can't talk about this topic without talking about the internet. The online world amplifies fears about marriage. Now, men see endless divorce horror stories from around the world. Algorithms feed them more content that confirms their fears, creating an echo chamber. Personal stories of heartbreak and financial ruin are powerful and persuasive. The constant negativity drowns out positive stories. It's easy to believe most marriages end in disaster when that's all you see. The internet rarely offers a balanced view. It thrives on outrage and fear. This one-sided narrative paints marriage as a trap and deepens mistrust. While men should be aware of risks, this flood of worst-case scenarios creates fear and cynicism. It makes healthy relationships harder to form. The digital echo chamber is shaping how men see marriage, and not for the better. With all this talk of risk, it's important to remember, not every marriage is a disaster. Millions of men are happily married to supportive, loving partners. A good marriage can be one of life's most rewarding experiences. But successful modern marriages look different. They're built on friendship, respect, and teamwork. Both partners put in the work and support each other's growth. These men feel seen, heard, and appreciated. Still, the existence of happy marriages doesn't erase the real fears others have. Trust in the institution is damaged. It's like seeing some planes land safely, but knowing half might crash. You'd still be wary of flying. Men see the odds and the consequences, and many choose not to risk it. The conversation needs to hold both truths. Great marriages exist, but so do real risks. The goal isn't to convince every man to marry, but to understand their hesitation. Learning from success and fixing systemic issues is the way forward. So, what's the solution? What would make marriage attractive again? It comes down to fairness, transparency, and genuine partnership. First, legal reform. Men want family law to be fair, default shared custody, temporary alimony, and enforceable prenups. They want to be treated as equal partners, not disposable assets. Second, emotional equity. Men want a partner, not a dependent. They want their emotional needs valued and their vulnerability met with compassion. This means moving away from the stoic provider model to true partnership. Finally, transparency. Men want honest conversations about finances, goals, and what happens if things go wrong. The goal isn't to avoid commitment, but to build one that's resilient and fair. It's about forging a new contract, one both men and women can sign with confidence.